Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the series finale of building an end-to-end browser-based application. I'm Liz Wilson, education specialist and digital producer here at Synergex, and I'm joined by today's presenter, Johnson Luong, software engineer and the creator of xfBBQ. Jeff Green and Steve Ives are also here with us, and they'll be around during the Q&A portion in case anyone has questions regarding Harmony Core. So before we jump into the code one last time, just a couple items regarding today's webinar. The session is being recorded as always and will be live on our YouTube channel by tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the link to our channel in the chat box. So you can subscribe to our channel and then receive an alert as soon as a new video is up. And as usual, we'll be answering your questions at the end, but definitely feel free to use the questions area or the chat panel to post a question at any point during the session. So during that Q&A portion at the end, we will also be giving you the ability to unmute yourself so that you can ask whatever questions you have out loud. So that's it for me. Johnson, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth and final session of xfBBQ. Today, we're going to figure out if all the plot lines are concluded and whether the dragon was able to save the kingdom or not. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about what happened previously on xfBBQ. I'm going to do user authentication on the server side, as well as what requirements are needed on the client side to support it. And then I'm going to finally style it with Bootstrap so it won't look so plain and boring anymore. And then I'm going to bundle the front end all together so that we're able to use xfBBQ without the need of the NPM server running in the back. Okay, so if you guys don't remember what happened last week, I was able to get the registration form with the CAPTCHA, as well as tidying up these tables here. So now they're not in the scattered JSON format, as well as adding the batch processing for the orders and the favorites, although I can't necessarily show that. Okay, so today, the first thing I'm going to do is the user authentication. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to stop the server. And then I'm going to navigate to my regen.bat. And we're going to enable two more options here. Enable authentication and enable custom authentication. I'm going to open my command prompt and I'm going to regen. There's going to be a couple of new files added. First one is in services.controllers. And then the second one is going to be in services.models. These are the little authentication things that have been added. Okay. Then I'm going to rebuild. While that's going on, I'm just going to open up Postman. I'm going to start the server. Okay, so what has changed here? Well, let me go ahead and try to read my barbecues again. And going to see that now, this time I'm going to get a 401 unauthorized. And what that means is that there's authentication going on the back end, except I'm not authenticated anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and authenticate myself. There is a specific address that I need to post to. this localhost 8086/authentication/get token. I need to post to it. Inside headers, I need to change it so that its content type is JSON. And inside the body, I'm going to need to change it so that I'm passing in a username and a password. Okay, so let's go ahead and send that. Oh, I still get 401. I wonder why. Let's change this. The password. See if that works. And because this username and password string are both correct, I get a 200 OK now. And what is coming out of it is a web token. And with that web token, I could go back into my read, go to the authorization tab, bearer token, paste it in. And now when I send it, I get a 200 OK because I'm now authenticated. So how does that work? So if I go inside my my authentication controller here, right now how it's doing it is to exactly check for a username of username and a password of password. But let's change that to actually grab data from the user table instead of it being hard-coded like this. I'm going to close the server. I'm going to paste code in. So what exactly has changed here is now I'm going to read in from the users table a username and a password. So now if I start debugging again, oh, sorry, I need to add a NuGet package here. So what's going on is now the server end is going to handle the bcrypt instead of the client end, or rather the front end, sorry. Okay. I'm going to rebuild. So what bcrypt is going to do is that it's going to verify that the password that has been passed in matches with the hash that has been saved inside the users table here. So now if I check inside my get token with this same username and password, it's not going to work anymore. But if I enter something that does exist, for example, Jill, your password is very secure, I know, QWERTY, I get a token back. And all this data is coming from the backend. Let's try bbqs again. It's going to work just fine because this token is still valid to use, even though the means of getting the token has changed. There's another thing that I want to change while we're here. Let me just stop the server really quick. So what essentially has happened is every single thing that you could do with the database has been locked with authentication. However, there is one thing up here that I do not want to lock, and that is the ability to sign up. So I go inside my UserController.Custom. I need to make sure that you can sign up without having to sign in first. In order to do that, I need to add allow anonymous. Right here. And then in addition, I need to import Microsoft.AspNetCore.Authorization. And this will allow me to be able to post users without having to have a token. Rebuild, successful, start debugging. Okay, so all this is working fine on the back end, but how do we do that with the front end that we have? So inside my React app, I need to change a few things around to account for this. I'm going to add the whole token API into Redux, and there are a couple steps for that. So inside Redux Actions, I need to add a new file called our tokenActions. And what this essentially does is a simple file for getting and removing our token. I also need to add in a reducer for our token. And all this will do is, based on the action, either get token or remove token, it will either return the token or it will return blank, which means the token has been removed. And in order to support these, I need to modify action types. Export const. Token success and export const. Remove token success. Okay. I need to modify initial state so that I could add the initial state of the token, which is also a blank object. I need to modify the root reducer so that it will add the token reducer. I need to add in the API to get a token. So inside this token API, it is a little different from the other APIs because I'm not utilizing the other handle method, or rather the other handle function that's coming from apiUtils. I'm only using the handle error. And that's because getting a token works a little bit differently here. Essentially what's going on is that I'm going to send in the username and the password that's coming in. And if the response status is a 401, I'm just going to return a empty string. Else, if authentication is okay, I'm going to return the text that comes back, which is the token. I also have a small function here that will set the token for us so that other APIs can use the auth token that's coming from the token API. I also need to add a middleware for our token inside Redux. And what this middleware essentially will do is make sure that the token API will call setToken on two specific types of actions. There's a persist rehydrate action that happens when you open up the app for the first time or you refresh it. And then the other type is when a get token success is returned. There is an npm package that I need to add called redux-persist-expire. Because by default, these tokens will expire after a day. And I'm going to use that on the front end so that if it's past a day, you're going to have to log in again and get a new token. So, and then I'm going to edit my configure store here. So what I have changed is inside the persist configuration, I've added a new transform that will expire the reducer. And that expire reducer is coming from the new import, the redux-persist-expire. It will expire in a day, which is what this 60 times 60 times 24 is. And it will expire to the initial state. So for both login and token, that will be an empty object. In addition to that, I've also applied the middleware that I've added to save auth token middleware. apiUtils needs a small change. So inside here, I'm going to add a new thing to here. If the status coming in is a 401, I'm going to do a window alert. You're being signed out due to inactivity. The only way that you can get a 401 inside the app is if you're already signed in and you have expired. And I have guaranteed that from the API here. And because the majority of the API is now being protected, I need to modify our API calls so that they will send in the auth token as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. So what I changed is now I'm going to pass in the authorization token that's coming from our token API here. And essentially, I'm passing that to all of the functions. And it's pretty much the same thing for the rest of them as well. I'm passing in the bearer token. Same thing. And the same thing. And after all that, I'm now ready to still have more work to do. So inside our login and logout, they have to be changed so that they will add and remove the token. So inside user logout, I'm going to import the remove token. From our token actions. And then when we're doing the logout, I'm also going to dispatch the remove token, remote token. And then on the user login, since I'm no longer doing bcrypt on the front end, all this code has to be removed, as well as some code to account for the adding of the token. Okay. So that's what Sentry has changed here. I'm going to get the token with the name and password. And then if the token is valid, meaning if it's not null or just blank, I'm going to dispatch get token. And then I'm just going to get the user by the name and dispatch the login rather than trying to make sure that the username is correct. The username and password are correct on the client side, or rather the front end. Okay, npm start. We're all done now. Okay, so if I log out and I log in again, so I check Redux DevTools. I'm able to see the whole state change that has occurred. So when I got my login, the state has changed here. And then I got my token as well from the get token success. So now the token is being saved here and the login. And then if I log out, there is now a remove token success that will remove the token from the state. So now they're both blank. I'm going to log in one more time. And now if I do a refresh, F5, inside the redux persist Now the token is being added back in. So as you can see, login state is there and the token state is there too. I'm going to commit all these changes. Added user authentication. And I'm going to push these to GitHub. Okay. So now after all that is done, what I'm going to do next is make this look better than what it is. So currently everything is pretty basic. There's not really a lot of styling going on. Everything is all black and white, and that's really boring. So I'm going to go ahead and change up that by using Bootstrap. I need to shut down the server, and I'm going to add Bootstrap. Yeah. Now, why am I adding Bootstrap? Because Bootstrap is one of the most popular CSS frameworks that is out there now. And in addition, it is of a responsive design, meaning that it will scale between someone that has a little mobile browser to someone that has a large desktop browser. And I will show that too. Just a couple more I need to add. npm react-router-bootstrap. And this package is needed to be able to run Bootstrap correctly in our single page React app. PMI bootswatch. This is simply a skin that I'm going to apply on top of Bootstrap. Then while that's going on, the first change I want to make is to finally officiate this whole thing. So instead of it being called React app, it's going to have its official title now, xfBBQ. And inside our App.css, this table clause is no longer necessary because it's now being handled by Bootstrap. Inside our index.css, I'm going to add in something that will adjust the max width. Then I'm going to modify App.csJSX. This is no longer necessary. Then I'm going to import the bootswatch CSS here, darkly, as well as importing the container class that's coming from React Bootstrap. And then I'm going to add the container class here instead of the blank tag. Inside header, I'm going to change this up so that it is using Bootstrap as well. So what has changed here is now I'm using the navbar and nav that's coming from React Bootstrap, as well as the link container that's coming from React Router Bootstrap. Some code had to be refactored in order to use these link containers correctly. Previously, what was going on was that I was just simply doing nav links, but now that has now changed to link containers. And then I'm going to modify the rest of these pages one at a time. Inside page not found, I've added puns. Inside the home page, I think I've defined what xf is, but don't take my word for it. Inside the logouts, I'm now going to add a spinner that's coming from Bootstrap. And I'll show what that looks like. And then inside all of our tables, I'm going to use the Bootstrap table. And I'll show what that looks like too. And then for the favorites, the orders, and the users, it's the same thing. I'm just going to use the Bootstrap version of them. Okay. Now I'm going to edit all our forms. So now they're using the Bootstrap form. So inside here, I'm using the Bootstrap form. I'm calling it Bootstrap form here instead of just form because there is a name collision that's going on with React Final Form. So for those of you that are going to do something similar to this, just keep that in mind, that there is going to be a name collision. I'll change the login as well to use Bootstrap form. And the registration form. I'm going to change our new order form so that it is using the full version instead of the simple version. It is a bit complicated to explain what it does, but I will answer any questions about it if any do come up. And then in order to support the new order form, there are a couple more files I need to add. Order.css. As well as a few new images. Okay. I'm going to do npm start. Orders.css. Okay, so now it looks all nice thanks to Bootstrap. All the tables look nice now. This is the new order form. It's a little bit more complicated than the simple one that I had earlier. User registration. The logout form has a spinner now. And then let me quickly show you what responsive design means. So inside Chrome, there is this nifty tool that will allow you to show what responsive design looks like. So inside here, I could mock a mobile phone screen. I could change this into, for example, an iPhone X. And this is what the screen will look like for that. Go ahead and log in. And when I do, this is what it will look like. Logout works the same way. And then you can just click this to toggle it back to the normal view. Okay, and I'm going to commit all these changes now. Added bootstrap. Then lastly, there's one last thing I want to show. In order to do that, I need to stop both the React server and the Harmony Core server. And that is to bundle this all together into Harmony Core so that you're able to use this front end without the need to have all this stuff running. I'm going to type in npm run build. And what that's going to do is create a optimized production build for use elsewhere, for example, Harmony Core. And npm run build is being completely supported from the Create React app that was all the way in the first presentation. So all the plot points are now coming together and converging into one giant plot. So that doesn't really take long. And I just want to show you guys how small the website is after all this. After everything has been gzipped up, the whole website takes up essentially what is less than a megabyte. All these JSs have been minified and put together, as well as the CSS that's coming from Bootstrap. And what I could do now is utilize it. The build folder has been created. That's coming from npm run. I'm going to rename that root. Inside Harmony Core, I'm going to remove this root folder and replace it with our own. And then I'm simply just going to copy it over. Okay, and I'm going to put it inside services. And now I just need to double check that they're all copied to output. Okay. To support the fact that we are using a single page app, I need to add another NuGet package here. Microsoft.AspNetCore.SpaServices. And then I need to modify the Startup.Custom to account for the fact that we are a single page app. Going to see if that builds. And now I could just navigate to localhost 8086 instead of 3000. And you get the same React app experience, except this time I'm not running the NPM server at all. This is straight from the Harmony Core side of things. Works the same exact way, since still log on and log out. See, same exact app, just host this somewhere else. Now I'm going to add all this. Added build from React. I'm going to push my changes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's 4 easy steps to create xfBBQ from scratch. Let me just recap what I did. In part 1, I created the Harmony Core and React app, and then I displayed the raw data. In part 2, I added Redux and figured out how to add data to the backend. In part 3, I added reCAPTCHA support as well as batch processing and our initial UI improvements. And lastly, in part 4, I added user authentication. Everything's now styled nicely in Bootstrap, and the protection build is in Harmony Core. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you for being with me for these last sessions.
That being said, I think I'm going to start wrapping things up here. Obviously, thank you to everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned, the series might be over, but we have several opportunities coming up for those of you who would like to learn more about Harmony Core. So to start, as I mentioned, we have the office hours sessions scheduled for next Tuesday. That's actually July 14th at 4 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and post the link to register for that in the chat area quickly. We also have on the 16th, we will be diving back into that Harmony Core tutorial series that Steve leads, and that will be, I believe, at 8 a.m. Pacific. So in this session, Steve will be talking about what's technically, I guess, tutorial 5, which is unit testing for Harmony Core OData services. So I'll post the link for that as well. And then if you haven't checked out any of those Harmony Core tutorials on GitHub, I'll post the link to that because there's a lot of great information and Steve really goes into detail. So here's the link for that in the chat area. So again, thank you everyone for joining. As usual, we will have a survey at the very end, and we do appreciate your feedback. So please consider filling that out as you exit the webinar, and hopefully we will see you in a future Synergex webinar. Have a wonderful day.